Well, we've been told over the years that for security reasons, government sometimes do that. We've been told, but none of them has actually come out to say that they do that. They listen to your conversations and all that, but we've been told. I'm sure that is why an app, the green app called WhatsApp, for example, is so braggadocious about it. They tell you that end-to-end encryption. That's there's no way anybody can listen to your conversation. So most government people even feel safer to talk over the WhatsApp calls than to talk over the regular calls. So that is to avoid being tapped. Because if that is what it is, so who is tapping it? Why are the government's people in some sensitive space scared of making certain comments over the phone without being listened to?
We have actors who are politicians and politicians who are actors. And I do not mean that in terms of theme. It's just that there's no cut, there's no stop. The politicians in Nigeria.
You say political actors. When you mention actors, the first thing that came to my mind were those actors that said that I'm in severe pain. Those were actors there.
Why do I miss those?
Those are all political actors, if you
I
don't
miss
mind.
seeing those. Somebody said the government taps phones. Somebody asked the question that, what is wrong with that? Are those wiretapping incidents just cleverly packed as information sharing?
Tapping in its in every sense is not something you do without breaching the rights of the individual. Even as a private individual, and government has to tap your line, they must have justifiable reasons.
Does that mean government taps our lines?
Well, we've been told over the years that for security reasons, government sometimes do that. We've been told. I know very well that part of security, effective security, is intelligence.
Not obtained premium use of it, if I would say.
Yeah, that's like we said earlier on, that nobody has said that they use it, but if they do, I am saying if they do, I don't see anything wrong with it if they use it for national interest. But abuse of it will not be where the problem is.
This podcast is brought to you by the Volume Pod in association with the Cable NG, Albarka Radio, 97.5 FM, and Diazu Development.
This is Volume with FemiDlive. I'm glad you joined the show. As always, excited to even read your comments on many of the episodes we've had so far. And yes, we keep pushing forward. And it's exciting to read and just to understand how things are. Don't worry, I'm not without my glasses today. Somewhere in the building, I will eventually find where it is. But my guest today is a TV host, is a journalist, is a filmmaker. And yes, he has not hesitated in also making clear his ideas around the national debates that are going on. As always, you might suspect the debates never really stop when it comes to Nigeria. I'm Femi Amelen. And my guest today is Desmond Utomwen. I hope I got it right.
Yeah,
I'm close. Utomwen. I'm close. I did take out time to rehearse that for a long time today, but it still didn't work out for me at the end of the day.
I guess you tried.
I guess I tried. Yeah. But cramming doesn't seem to pay off anymore. We used to cram a lot. Now people don't cram. They just ChatGPT their answers.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But if you also belong to the movie environment, you need to do some level of cramming. And I think lawyers too do cramming too.
Okay.
Yeah.
I find that fascinating. Let's talk about films before we get into the national debate. So that's one thing about acting that continues to elude me. Do they really put those long dialogues, those words in their head and not miss it out and still pretend like it's natural?
Yes, they do. Of course, there are tricks to it, if you don't mind. You need to be able to retain a good level of it for you to deliver properly. For films to be properly made, if you have to stick to the script, you have a script supervisor who must ensure that you deliver your lines properly. Of course, there are some very good actors too, like some of the old horses who sometimes want to also paraphrase some of those lines, like we used to have with late Sam Lokoefe.
Yep.
He was very good with doing that.
And he uses method acting.
Yeah.
The Al Pacino clan.
Yeah. So some of those people, even Okemowo, was told he was very good with that too. Sometimes you give him a script and the lines are not powerful enough like he wants to deliver, with his oratory prowess and acting dexterity, he gives you something even better than you probably must have given him in the script. So we have those kind of actors. But beyond that, as a style for some actors, you're supposed to stick to your script. At least stay within the context of the message you're trying to deliver, because a film is not a film if the message is not properly communicated. So you need somebody that can communicate very well. So you need to carry those lines in your head. And where it is very, very important for the words to be delivered verbatim, you don't have a choice. You have to deliver it, all right? Because anything you miss there could change the entire context. Like somebody was giving an example, I wanted to say that this place is a very, very lovely place. Talking to his wife over the phone is very, very lovely. I wish you were her. He was trying to read the line, and what was missing there is just E. Instead of, I wish you were here. And he said, I wish you were her. And that caused a very big quarrel. Yeah. I tell you, he was sending a message via, I think, WhatsApp or SMS, I can't remember. So E was missing. So it could change the entire context. Just like you are trying to tell somebody that I don't like something, and you remove the not in it, I do not, and just say I do. The context has changed, but just one word is missing. And it could be like that in so many other expressions. So you don't want to make that kind of grievous mistake when you are acting. But if you do, with the presence of a good script supervisor, you can always, they can always cut and do a retake. So sometimes, for those very beautiful lines that you see, particularly those lines that are very lengthy, they must have had numerous takes before they get it exact. But there are some one-take actors too. They just do it one time and everybody's happy. So those kind of actors are delights to producers and directors. They don't waste your time on set. Not actors that takes your time, you do 10 takes and you are still not sure. When they stress you out, next time, you don't want that kind of actor on your set.
I promise I'll not stress you out when you cast me. I'm
well, we have to look. We have to.
I have the capacity.
I know. I haven't related with you over time as a celebrated broadcaster. You also have so much you retain inside of you, all right, to aid your delivery.
Yeah,
all
that's
right.
true.
So those similarities are there. Okay, for a broadcaster to be able to deliver on air without holding a script, the only thing you probably have on you is just a talking point, right? And that is a good quality of somebody who could potentially be a very good actor too.
Now, my confidence level just went up.
Yes, it should. Because we've had some broadcasters that also migrated, all right, or transmutated from broadcasting to acting, and they've excelled very well. So there's a nexus between those two professions.
Let's venture into political actors now. We have actors who are politicians and politicians who are actors. And I do not mean that in terms of theme. It's just that there's no cut, there's no stop. The politicians in Nigeria, now this is us getting into the politics of the day. Things just don't seem to stop. Let me start off with the former governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai.
Yeah.
Yes, it started off with an interview, and then it says some few things that did come off as, very unwarranted. And I can read out some of the quotes of what he said about tapping the NSA's phone line, and then he rephrased to say someone said, down the road into that conversation. That's something that's too much to say, isn't it?
Well, you say political actors. When you mention actors, the first thing that came to my mind were those actors that said that I'm in severe pain. Those were actors then. There were actors that, different kinds of actors, you take them to the court and suddenly they develop some kind of sickness. We've seen actors who collapse during a probe in National Assembly.
Why do I miss those?
Those are all political actors, if you
I
don't
miss
mind.
seeing those.
But to get very serious with El-Rufai, I think his case is something that we should learn some lessons from. There's so much about him. His travails seems to be legion at the moment. So much that he's passing through, from wiretapping to cases of mismanagement of funds, as a result of the probe by the Kaduna State House of Assembly. I think that was in 2024. and of course, the political travails and all of that. There are a whole lot of feats that he's currently passing through, to the extent that you have not less than 3 anti-corruption or security agencies currently on his trail, or are currently
That's it. DSS, ICPC, EFCC.
EFCC, yes. I think the day he left the EFCC, he was immediately picked up by the DSS or so and handed over to the ICPC, or ICPC picked him up. So that is currently ongoing. As we speak, he's still in detention. I don't know how soon he's going to come out of there, because there is a warrant to keep him longer. He's supposed to be
48 hours.
48 hours is regular, but you can get a warrant that keeps the suspect longer than 48 hours. So it's a warrant to detain. So I think they have that already to keep him, just like you also have a warrant for search, which he has challenged. He was supposed to be arraigned by the FCC by the end of this month, which probably should have been today or so latest, because by Monday we have entered a new month already. So, but they've moved that to April 23rd, 24th, I think. So, but they have a long time to carry out the investigation now. But because his case borders on both corruption and national security, I guess is going to do a very long time.
One of the questions I saw on Twitter, and not that I don't know the answer, but for the fact that it was raised the way it was, somebody said the government taps phones. We also were able to get into their phones, which is me paraphrasing what he said around tapping the phone, or should I say listening in, which is the nicer way to say it, listening in to the conversation of the NSA, Nuhu Ribadu. Somebody asked the question that, what is wrong with that? That are there laws in Nigeria that exist along the lines of that? And I do know there's a Cybercrime Act along the lines of that. But provide context to somebody young out there who's wondering what is wrong with tapping another person's phone in Nigeria.
Tapping in its in every sense is not something you do without breaching the rights of the individual. Even as a private individual, and government has to tap your line, they must have justifiable reasons.
Does that mean government taps our lines?
Well, we've been told over the years that for security reasons, government sometimes do that. We've been told. But none of them has actually come out to say that they do that. They listen to your conversations and all that. But we've been told. And sometimes they get you scared that your line has been bugged and all of that. If when you work in certain environment, be very careful what your communications are over the phone and all that. So that happens. I'm sure that is why an app, the green app called WhatsApp, for example, is so braggadocious about it. They tell you that end-to-end encryption. That's there's no way anybody can listen to your conversation. So most government people even feel safer to talk over the WhatsApp calls than to talk over the regular calls. So that is to avoid being tapped. Because if that is what it is, so who is tapping it? Why are the government's people in some sensitive space scared of making certain comments over the phone without being listened to? So that happens everywhere, but there is no confirmation anywhere that government or the government of Nigeria listening to the conversations of private individuals. There is no proof that that is done, but the speculations are very, very rife.
But legally, it's not even usable. You can't tender it in law court, because even with El-Rufai's case, and this is me probably just trying to get into his corner for a second, there is no proof that somebody wiretapped, that he wiretapped Nuhu Ribadu. He only said so, which kind of indicts him in some sense of way from what he has said, if they do decide to push further. But there is no proof most times of wiretapping, just like the government would say it doesn't exist. He also would say, I listened in, what device was used is another ballgame. But there is no proof. So do you think that it would ever come down to a case that would pull through, especially from the perspective of the Cybercrime Act, which has picked up, should I say, momentum in the last 3 years? You say something to me I don't like, I say, you are bullying me.
Yes, cyberbullying. Okay, I think we should look at this within different contexts. For tapping people's line, like we've said before, it's something that we cannot really confirm whether it is done or not done. But there have been cases also All right. As much as there is no, within the jurisprudence of Nigeria, we are not so sure if the Evidence Act provides for that. Maybe lawyers could help us out, but I'm not so sure if the Evidence Act provides for that, that you can tender it in court. Up until very recently, even video evidence you couldn't tender. I remember when I had issues of fundamental human rights in court against the police. And
That was 2011 or thereabout?
yeah, 2010.
10, 11.
2010. And we're still on. We're in Supreme Court as we speak.
Yeah, it has lasted over a decade, right?
Over.
Yes, over a
This is
decade.
about 16 years I've been in court.
16 years
with
in
the Nigerian
court.
police and GTB.
Yes.
So,
we're going to get into that
No
because
problem.
I've been wondering, because I saw that you court stated that you have 100, let me not say the rest. Okay, go on, 100 million anyway.
All right. So we were wondering then how we're going to be able to tender some of our video evidence and all that. But I think midway into the case, we had the Evidence Act, I think it was amended and all that. We were able to tender some of those things. So over the time, there's been evolution of how and what kind of evidence you're able to tender in court. So this wiretapping as an issue, I'm sure very soon they may also be able to find reasons for it. After all, in this same country, we didn't have anything like doctrine of necessity until our former president was very sick, and we needed to empower the former vice president, Jonathan, to become the acting president. So evolvements could eventually bring this as part of the evidence that can be tendered in court. But be that as it may, I think there are still times that things like this have been mentioned. If not for the purpose of prosecution, but just for the purpose of investigation. Because when somebody listens to your conversation, from whatever end they are listening to it, they may not be able to present that in court, but they could know your next move. And with that, they could track you to the real crime that you were about to commit. I think that is even more important than just presenting it as an evidence. If you have discussed that a certain crime is going to be committed somewhere and somebody already heard that discussion, they'll go wait for you where the crime will be committed and you'll be apprehended in the act. Of course, that is better when a criminal is caught in the act as against you are just presuming that he has committed such a crime. In 2010, I heard something too, I think it was also in the news, then that there was a certain conversation that was also listened to, all right, for which they started prosecuting some of the people that were said to have been involved in the October 1st blast in Abuja. As at that time, I think they linked it to some evidence that were over communication and all that. So things like that can actually happen. Why they may not be able to tender your conversation in court, but they might eventually be able to effect some arrest from some of the conversations they have listened to.
Talking about conversations that have been listened to, I mean, earlier this week, and I mean, earlier just as we go through, it was interesting. Peter Obi alongside, I'm trying to remember the other ADC chieftains that were with him, they were at an event when they were told that, oh, talks are coming, there's going to be a bridge of peace in this area, just leave now, leave now, leave now. Somebody cleverly informed them about that, about to happen. And I find that quite imaginative that somehow the ADC has been talking about how they've been tracked, they're pushing against them, and they are formidable enemies of President Tinubu. When I say formidable enemies, political enemies of President Tinubu, when you think of El-Rufai, who was one of the strongest people with President Tinubu in the north, when you think about former APC national leader, Oyegu, as well, I could go on to name some very close allies that he had at some point in time who are not necessarily on his side. But it brings forward the question about information management, in which the police and other people tell you, we did not know there was going to be an attack, we did not know that there was going to be this, or we knew there was going to be an attack, but we couldn't act on it. Are those wiretapping incidents just cleverly packed as information sharing?
Well, we have to talk to some security experts.
Yeah, I agree.
To get certain things very
But what's
clear.
your perspective?
But I know very well that part of security, effective security, is intelligence. where there is no intelligence, you can't operate effectively within the security space. What are you going to be doing? You're going to be retroactive as against being proactive. That is where information intelligence or intelligence gathering, as it were, is very, very important. And it's expected that as citizenry, when you stumble on any useful information that borders on security or even whatever kind of crime it is your responsibility to report same to the security. And if you report same to the security and they do not act on it, and eventually there is maybe there was a strike, all right, which has been foretold. Of course, whoever you reported to should be held liable, because if that information was given to you as a security operative and you didn't act on it, it's expected that you have failed on that assignment. All right. That is why they say when you see something, you say something. All right. Security operative rely on the intelligence that we offer to them because they are not spirit themselves. They can't be everywhere. People will always present something to them for them to act on rather. So I see intelligence as the bedrock for which it is possible for wiretapping to be one of the tools that could be used if truly that they use it. And if they use it for national security, I can say that nothing is wrong with it. For national interest, I can say that nothing is wrong with it because they must be able to keep you and I safe. If they do it for that very purpose, within the context that I've said,
But if not
wrong with it.
obtained premium use of it, if I would say.
Yeah, that's like we said earlier on, that nobody has said that they use it. But if they do, I am saying if they do, I don't see anything wrong with it if they use it for national interest. But abuse of it will not be where the problem is.
What's your thoughts about? I mean, I was looking through part of a story you're very familiar with, and I'll say story, and I'll not use the word case. You, GTB, and police, and now you're at the Supreme Court. I'm sure there are sides of the story that you can talk about that does not jeopardize, necessarily the case. What really happened before it became a case?
Okay. Then I was a young journalist. That was about 17 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. December, to be precise, 2009. I was covering a protest, a civil protests, very, very peaceful protest at front of GTB Area 3. That's very bank area. You see lots of bank in Area 3. So I was covering the protest there. And the case itself was something that GTB didn't like, all right? They didn't want reported at all because it tainted their image, their reputation as a bank for a period where the limit, the withdrawal limit was 60,000, broken into three withdrawals of tranches of 20,000 naira each. Somebody withdrew about 490,000 naira that night, and it was on a weekend, I think on a Sunday night. So the young lady whose money was being withdrawn was at home that night, eating, while money was leaving her account that night. But there was nothing she could do because it was on a weekend. So Monday, she rushed to the bank. That's while at home, she saw debit alert on her phone, and she wanted to know what happened to her money. And they said she had compromised her PIN. She said she did not compromise her PIN because her ATM card was with her. Let's assume she compromised her PIN. The fact that her card was with her, all right, makes it more questionable. So she suspected inside collaboration, insider's job, and wanted the bank to effect a refund of her money and all that. While she was pushing for it, they kept tossing her around, come today, come tomorrow, and all that. So she got frustrated and decided to carry out a protest in front of the bank. Supported by some of her friends and family members, they displayed some placards in front of the bank. And as a young journalist, I was passing through and I saw such a protest.
Because you were with the news magazine at the time.
I was with the news and PM News, the news magazine and PM News, evening newspaper in Lagos as at that time. I had just gotten a visa to go for the, I can't remember the COP it was then, the Conference of Parties, the UN Conference of Parties for Climate Change, that was holding in Copenhagen in Denmark that year. So I had just gotten my visa to go to Denmark, and I banked with GTB. So I went to the bank to inquire how I can get my BTA, all right, as I prepare for my trip. So that was when I actually saw the protest ongoing that very day. And I had to forget what I went there for first and do my job as a journalist. Came out with my recorder, my still camera, which I could also use for digital camera, as a matter of fact. And I started to take some visuals, take some interviews and all that for reporting. But the bank officials were not comfortable with the fact that a journalist was present.
Did you identify yourself as a
Yeah.
journalist?
Yes,
then?
I did.
Okay.
So they walked up to me and asked me to leave. I said, why should I just leave? As a journalist, I have every right to cover anything happening. It is my constitutional responsibility to receive information, hold same information, and disseminate the same information for public good. So nobody has any right to stop a journalist from receiving a public information for as long as it has not been classified by government. And even if it is classified, I can receive but may not be able to disseminate for security reasons. So you can't ask me to just leave. The much I can do for you is to have your own side of the story, because the ethics of the profession gives us the right, the power, and the responsibility to hear our side, to be balanced in our reporting, and to be fair to all sides. And I was ready to do that. So can I talk to your manager or anybody in that capacity that can speak to me as a journalist? They said no. When they turned me down, I said, okay. At that point, I already have what I could report. So I was walking back to my car to leave the vicinity when a detachment of police operatives came in from Garki Police Station, as it then was. In their van, they all stormed out of their van, and I could see the bank officials, the police, and the security operatives there pointing at me. Collect his camera, collect his recorder, collect him, that one, get him, get him. Get him for what? What have I done? I wasn't a criminal. I was just a journalist doing my lawful assignment. So the policemen actually charged at me, got me, hit me with the gunboats, panic beated me until they were able to subdue me, bundled me into their vehicle, seized my phone, and with the blood, tore my clothes.
And by the way, just to mention for people watching, you didn't have this beard then, because I saw a picture of you many years ago then.
It's like you've known me for too long now. if they say that in local parlance, say you have seen me finish. Anyway, that was what happened then. I was very young. You can imagine about 17 years ago, I couldn't have been the same way that I am now. So they took me to the station, Garki Police Station, by Samuel Ladoke Akintola Boulevard, popular Lagos Street in Abuja. Locked me up behind the counter. But I eventually got access to my phone, and I quickly called some of our colleagues. So they now came to the station. So they tried to compel me to say things that were not, or to admit and accept that what I was doing there were unlawful, which was not true. As a matter of fact, they confronted me with an allegation that I was trying to aid armed robbery attack. I was going to take pictures of what the bank looks like and give to armed robbers to come and invade the bank.
Usually that sticks in
Yeah.
Lagos. Usually that
I said,
sticks.
how can that be? I didn't enter inside the bank. I was outside the bank. And the exterior of that bank is for everybody to see. So what has a photograph taken of the exterior of a bank got to do with informing criminals to invade a bank? It does not give you the architectural structure, internal structure of the bank. How possible can that be? I challenged them right there. Are you aware that in that protest, if things had gone wrong, if there has been broken down in law and order that very day, that you will eventually rely on my footages, on my pictures, the videos, to identify people that were in that vicinity. That means I am even helping you to do your job. So you can't flip the script. At that point, they were dumbfounded. They couldn't say anything further. But when my colleagues came, they eventually were able to secure my release, and I went straight to the force headquarters because I was a police correspondent as at that time, coincidentally.
Ooh.
And I had a police accreditation tag in my pocket. So I was within my right in all ramification to have covered that protest. So
Security correspondent
Yes.
and the likes of that.
So I didn't see any reason why those police officers needed to do that. But of course, we know very well that most of those police officers within the rank and file always act out of order. So by the time I got to force headquarters, I met with the first public relations officer, then Emmanuel Ojukwu, and presented the case to him. He apologized to me and asked me to go to the command and talk to the commissioner of police there to ensure that the appropriate action is taken. I went to the FCT command and spoke to the CP then, who later died in a helicopter crash in Jos, Donald Iroham. And he was very angry that they could deal with me the way they did, and ordered that the DPO immediately arrest and detail the officers that were responsible for it. So, and that actually happened that very day. By the time I got back there, I met with the DPO. He interrogated the matter again, and he took the actions he could take within his power that very day. I left, all right, went to treat myself, got to the hospital for treatment. Only for me to see in the papers the following day that police deny assault on journalists. And that was issued by the police PRO FCT command, Moshood. He's currently, I think, the CP in Lagos State. Moshood. Yeah, he said that. And that infuriated me. How can you say this?
It was the PRO 70 years ago, but he's now the CP,
Yeah, CP in
in Lagos
State.
now.
Yes, it was also one time first PRO at force headquarters. So I was angry with that, and I decided to seek legal redress when I saw that report. Maybe I would have allowed it to just slide, but when I saw that report, I actually got angry that you cannot lie on uniform. Your job is to work in the interest of the citizenry, the innocent citizens of this country. And if the first PRO verbally apologized to me, and the CP apologized verbally and ordered the DPO to act according to the rules of the force, why should the police PRO, FCT command, lie against everybody? So I went to court to enforce my fundamental human rights. So we went to court. We wrote to both GTB and the police. Police, of course, denied already. The bank also denied, said they were not involved in it. It was the police that did it. Just like Moshood said, it was the bank that did it. I said, that's fine. There was a doing. And I love the fact that there was a doing. Police said GTB did it, and GTB said police did it. Whether Jonah swallowed the fish or the fish swallowed Jonah, the most important thing is that there was a swallow.
Yes.
So let's go to court and you people go and tell the court who swallowed the fish or who swallowed Jonah. Who did it to Desmond? Who brutalized an innocent journalist? Come to court and come and prove it. They got to court, they couldn't. Midway before the court's case started, the bank officials called me, all right? The corporate affairs general manager called me all the way from their headquarters in Lagos and asked me to back off, just allow the case. I should send my account details so that they can put something inside for me. I said, no, I'm not that cheap. You can't just ask me to send my bank details to put something inside. Even if I was hungry, you can't do that to me.
In
There
the
are people with
defense of
integrity.
PR, maybe he didn't mean it like maybe you were hungry because he wouldn't have known, but it was
No, but
handing
he
it
was
to
disrespectful. That was disrespectful. You have brutalized an innocent citizen who did nothing wrong. If you needed to offer him anything, there should be a meeting. That empathy should have been there. Don't just go because you know he lost money that very day. They took his belongings. They took my belongings that very day. So you just want to compensate him. Say, send your account details and let me send you something.
I'm sure that was not a formal call because the meeting would have made it formal to acknowledge
Very
that
well.
it
You
happened.
do
And
that. So you were calling me.
practically in PR, you're avoiding to do that.
You're calling me in your official position as a corporate affairs manager of the bank. All right? So you should do the right thing. If you're calling me as a friend, it's a different ball game. If you called me Femi, say, Desmond, I saw the way you were brutalized. I need to support your cause. Give me an account. Let me send something to you. I will gladly do it. That is unofficial. But the fact that you are calling, there was already an axe to grind, and you are calling. If I send my account details to you, the next minute you are going to blackmail me with it. If you don't do any other thing. You say we have
True.
settled him. You can't just settle me like that. We must place honor on this profession. So I didn't like that. And I told him, no, I wouldn't do that. He said I should ask my lawyer to stay off the case. Excuse me. I should ask my lawyer to stay off the case, and we should just relate bank and myself. I said, no, I cannot ask my lawyer to leave. As a matter of fact, if you want to do this thing with some level of respect, we should be sitting over a round table. You and I, face to face, with my lawyer on one side and representative of the Nigerian Union of Journalists on another side. This should be the four parties seated for us to discuss. If you are not ready to talk like that, then I'm not ready to listen to you. I told him so. And he said, if that is what I want, he can assure me that by the time they activate their legal team full of senior advocates of Nigeria, they will wear me out.
That's
I
intimidation.
said, that is intimidation, but bring it on. Then you will know how thick my skin is. Forget about the baby face like they will always say. The skin is thicker.
I will not say something distracting. I'll just try to focus here. Okay, good.
So I said that, and at the end of the day, he ended the call, and the case started, really. It took us over 3 years before we got our first judgments, precisely October 2012. Yeah, 2012, about 2 years and a half. We got our first judgment, where the court awarded me 100 million Naira in damages, and they rebuked them.
Just for purpose of it, I didn't get out of it yet.
Yeah, I've not collected 1 Naira too.
Oh, okay. So I'm still within the range.
No, there's no accusation.
Okay, go.
So they awarded me that, and they felt they have grounds to challenge the judgment, and they went to appeal court. June 8th, 2022, I secured another judgment against them. The appeal court, appellant court, ruled again in my favor. All right. And they went to Supreme Court. And I told them, go to wherever you want to go to. If you are done at the Supreme Court, if you are not satisfied, and you want to go to ICC, International Criminal Court of Justice, I'm ready to go with you. And if you are not satisfied when you get there, you want to take the case to God Almighty, because that is the highest of all, we are also ready. But the most important thing is that human rights is something we must not joke with. So we must be bold enough to enforce our fundamental human rights. And as journalists too, because we have a very sacred responsibility to bring information to light, we must not be treated like the way I was treated. You must not take pleasure in brutalizing a journalist who has done nothing wrong but to just receive information and disseminate for public good. It's just like you walk into a hospital and beat up a doctor, a surgeon who is carrying on a procedure on a patient on a surgical bed. That would be wrong. Or a lawyer that is in the temple of justice also arguing up a case, you just go in there and beat him up. So why do it to a journalist?
So let me push you a little bit on that. 17 years.
Yes.
As no one sat across you, maybe even doing it better than the corporate affairs manager you spoke to, and offered you a chance to drop the case.
There was, at some point along the line, after I won the case at the High Court, I got a call from one of the consultants to the bank and asked me I was going to ask the bank to just send me like 5 million naira for me to drop the case. I laughed. I said, how funny can that be? That when I was younger, when I didn't even have money, when I had not secured a victory at the court, I rejected such an offer. Why should I accept it now that I have secured a judgment against your bank, against the force? Why should I? Why should I accept that kind of offer when I have 100 million naira potentially waiting for me if I eventually defeat you people at the end of the day? Why should I condescend to take 5 million naira when I can actually wait and take 100 million naira?
That's 5% of what the court granted.
I said, in any case, this case is not about the money. Let me state it very, very clear. Even if I don't take 1 naira out of this, the fact that I've been able to bring this to light, the fact that I've been able to secure judgment, the first of its kind in this country, against the bank and against the state, because the police is an instrument of the state. I've been able to secure such a judgment. That gives me joy already. And as I speak to you, I am fulfilled because my case is already a reference case in Nigeria jurisprudence. I have seen it being cited in so many cases. I was online recently and I've seen it. So that's okay. It's in the law books already. So every other person who suffered the same fate as Desmond can now have a reference case with which they can determine in court. So that was one of the things we wanted to do. Somebody must stand as a shining light to challenge certain occurrences. And I've been able to do that. So it was not about the money that was to come to me. I could take that very money, put the money in my back pocket, and the next day it's finished. Even if the money is able to buy you a car, would that have solved all your problems in this life? I said, no, I was not going to take the money. I was going to do this for the profession I so much love. I was going to do this for the sake of integrity. I was going to do this as a way of seeking redress against injustice in this country. And that was why I stood my ground. So I said I should remember that the law process in Nigeria is very slow. Before I could run through the entire process, it may take me another 10, 20 years. I said, I don't care. One thing I told myself from the beginning is that you can't wear me out. And because I was not looking at that money, so I am not getting frustrated. I would have been frustrated if I was looking at the money, but that is not where my gaze is. My gaze is just enforcing the rights. So don't think that I will feel like the value of the money will drop or I have lost something and all that. And even if I don't eventually get the money at the end of the day, I still would not have lost anything.
Which brings me to the issue of your safety.
Yes.
Did it ever cross your mind? I know 17 years ago you were not married because we were all on the streets then. So, but now you're married. Did it cross your mind about your safety, because 17 years ago, the police we have today would probably rethink before acting because of a lot of technology and a lot of the hawk eye, as we would have it, on what they do. But 17 years ago in Lagos, trust me, and I know this for sure because I've had my own share of it as well, anything could happen to anybody, as bodies were turning up in canals in Lagos where it took weeks and all of that. Did you ever, at any point in time, get any security threat?
Yeah, there were things similar to that, but there are certain things you cannot rightly just prove and put out there. I hate to speculate.
But we can storify.
Yes. Both myself and my lawyer, Barrister Oguchukwu Ezekiel, we had those incidents. There was a time I have to report to my boss then that I feel trailed because I drive around Abuja and those things. He just told me to calm down and possibly not move at night anymore. As a matter of fact, at some point they have to ask me to stop going to the force headquarters and all that because the case was ongoing. If I remember the language that was used then, it said hibernate for a while. So I had to hibernate. I just stayed on a low key, all right? So those things were there. I remember going to, for certain assignments, and police sees me, and some of the officers, they see me and they tell you that you have come again, oh, small thing now, you will say they have beaten you up. I actually heard that directly from the DPO as at that time at PDP headquarters in Wuse Zone 5 when I went for one of the assignments there. And they were a bar journalist from coming in, so I was in the crowd. But he was specific about me because he recognized me. So I had some of those challenges as at that time, but I wasn't deterred. One thing was for sure, we already signed up for this. Somehow some of us took journalism like people who signed off for security operatives, like the soldiers or even the police itself. Because once you sign in, it's like you have signed off your life. Whatever happens to you there you are now a property of the state, as it then was. But then this one, even though we really do not have, it's not a pensionable profession, is a thankless job and all that. But we are committed to ensuring that at least we give voice to the voiceless and we shine the light on everything that seems hidden, no matter how much they try to, particularly when it has to do with abuse on rights. If people steal, if people defraud, if people mismanage, the states can deal with that. But when you abuse the rights of ordinary citizen, it is something that must be condemned by everybody. It is already bad that the people may not have their dues from the leaders over the years. But to come to them, assert bodily harm on them, we can't tolerate that. We can't. So I wasn't surprised when we had, when people have protested against issues of abuse on rights and all of that. We pay, you and I, from our tax money. We service the force. So we cannot employ those people that will turn around and also turn us to punching bags. That is not possible.
Okay. I mean, you were told that such a case can last 20 years. It has lasted 17 years.
Yes, it has.
Do you have a Supreme Court date now?
Well, I think they have, or they are, developing cold feet. You know how lawyers do their things with technicalities, they keep dragging.
Your lawyer or their lawyer?
Their lawyers. I'm ready. They keep dragging. They want to continue. They don't want to continue and whatever. Whatever you do, as far as I'm concerned, I'm already satisfied. I'm already fulfilled. Any case that has gotten to the appellant's court, or the appeal court, as you want to call it.
Who took it all the way up?
Where they appealed, we
They
won.
appealed.
We won, so they appealed. At some point, we were thinking of cross-appealing. That if you don't want to appeal, we will appeal. Let's keep dragging it if you think you can wear us out, so that you will know that we are not tired. I wasn't tired. So, but the good thing about this whole thing is that in the force, talking about the police force, we still have good officers and gentlemen. The challenge is just with the rank and file. That is why we need to do so much with training for them.
The IGP says it's going to do that and clean
We need
out.
to do so much with even increasing their take-home pay. Because you can't give a gun to an officer who is already frustrated from the crisis in town. He doesn't have enough money. You don't know how his family is feeding, how the children are going to school, if they won't have free education and all of that. You calculate how much you pay them, is not able to take care of them at all, and you leave them with a gun. The criminally minded ones among them will turn the gun against the innocent citizens.
True.
And we have seen that happen. So I am an advocate of pay the law enforcement officers rightly. Pay them their due wage.
And now the president is really advocating for state policing.
Yes, the president means well for the country in terms of what security should be and what the police should also be like. It means well. I hope with his courage, because over the years we can actually say that he has courage. I wish and I hope he can push it through. The good thing about it is that the 36 state governors and FCT have supported that agenda. We expect that the National Assembly will not fail him. Where my concern is
Usually
really...
they don't.
Yeah, they won't. I just expect they would not anyway. Where my concern is with the state houses of assembly, because you still need a 2/3 of the state houses of assembly to be able to pass such a law.
Usually when you get the
terms of
governor, the
amending the
2/3 will
Constitution.
fall in line.
Yes, I think it's possible because the party, APC, for example, has a good number of governors as of today. I think almost all the governors, aside maybe 4 or 5,
Yeah,
are
apart
in
from
another party.
the only governor that may not yet be, and if I'm accurate about this, would be Governor Alex Oti of Abia State, who is also the father of Labour Party now. But even minutes ago before he came in, I saw a defection. It should be Governor Kefas Oso.
No, that should be Fintiri, Adamawa State.
Yes, Adamawa State, I beg to say. Yes.
It's going to the APC.
Yeah.
So we have just very few governors. We have Oyo, we have Zamfara, we have Oti, and we have Soludo.
Okay.
Yeah, I think those are just the only 4 opposition governors at the moment.
Anambra, of course, is with APGA. Soludo is with APGA.
Yeah.
Zamfara is with PDP.
PDP,
Alex Oti is with Labour Party.
Yeah.
Makinde is with PDP as well.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So easy to count.
Yeah, very, very easy. So those are the governors that possibly may not support. But I see the possibility of this killing through before the next election. And it will be good credit to the president if he's able to push this. And that is one of the good things he's done since he became president. He's been able to devolve power to the subnational governments. The states are making more money from the federation account today. All the revenues coming in, they are making more money from the subsidy removal and all that. They have more money at the state level. So the state actually should not have any reason to complain why they are not able to perform at their various states. As a matter of fact, I would want to stand and challenge the state governors. If the people are suffering today, bulk of the blame should go to the state governors. What have you done with the money you've been given? They've never gotten as much money like this ever before. In fact, previous governors would be grinning with envy as we speak because they didn't get as much as this kind of resources that the current governors are getting. So it's giving that power to them. Of course, the local governments, he also said that money should be paid to them, the allocation should be paid to them directly. So he's trying to enshrine what you call the true federalism or the federal character, as it were. So that true federalism, if it is properly done within the lifetime of his administration, Nigeria will be better. It will also trigger healthy competition among the states. All right, you don't have a choice not to succeed as a state. You don't, because the powers have been given to you. If there is insecurity in your state, most of the complaints they have is that the CP, the Commissioner of Police that they have in their various states, are not reporting directly to them as governors, even though they are the chief security officer of their state. They don't report directly to them. They still report to an IG who is in Abuja, who may give a counter instruction, a counter directive. But now with state police, the CP will report to you. You have control over whatever you want to happen in your states.
It has both sides. It has its strong danger. It also has its own merit.
You see, everything that has positive always have negative. When you ever say there is merit, you're going to find demerit.
True.
If there is no demerit, there won't have been merit. So if the merit outweighs the demerit, we go for the merit and manage the demerit. So what are those things that we're talking about? Abuse. Then we put safeguards in place.
And of course, it becomes a local issue to resolve.
Yeah, put safeguards in place. What are they going to do? Are they going to just deploy the officers and start killing innocent people?
By the way, the IG would have it tough to redeploy CPs, because usually now that we have a new IGP, number of the top ranking officers in police force that above him in rank would have to retire. Quite a number of CPs that may not necessarily be in his own alignment, which whatever it is, may be relocated to obscure states, if I would say so. These are things that usually happen a year to election, with the background that there's an election coming up.
Yeah, that happens every time. There are and different reasons also could be adduced to that. The IG has the right to redeploy any commissioner of police to wherever he wants him. Even the DIGs and AIGs, he has that right to do that. While he has the right, it is left for you, wherever you are posted to go and excel. We've seen people who were posted into obscurity, but they were discovered in their obscurity.
Do you mean like former CP Umbu retired now?
Yeah.
It was Rivers State really obscure.
Of course. So those things happen. So you can turn the mud into gold, as it were, as a CP, wherever you are deployed to. Even when they post you to logistics or to training, for some people, you can excel in that corner. There is a certain...
I see why you're not one of the most favorite person in the police. How could you say they should post someone to logistics? I'm not too sure any CP. Yes, they do.
But it happened.
Yeah, but I'm sure you're not one of their favorite people too. For someone who's praying for promotion, you're posting to logistics.
Like, I could make an example with road safety, for example. There was a certain Jonas Agu. I think he's back into limelight now.
Yes, he is.
He elevated the office.
He's a brilliant one. He's
yes, he
brilliant.
elevated the office. Then I think it was within the FCT commanders at that time, but now he's at the federal. All right. He elevated his office. I came into Abuja and I'm hearing the name Jonas Agu much more than the name of whoever.
I should bring him to the show.
The Marshal was, the call Marshal was then. You're hearing.
And he was moved to Plateau State.
At some point.
Yes, he moved to Plateau State.
At some point, he was sent to Siberia. You know what they call, when they say they send you to Siberia?
Yes.
They take you to obscurity. But you can't keep a shining light down for too long. Even if you turn on the light, put it under the bed, you will still see the light.
It depends on the bed, though. You will see things under the bed, though.
But as I speak to you now, they have to go look for him again and brought him back.
He's actually a very brilliant one. I should bring him to the show.
Yeah.
I should actually.
So there are people like that. There are people like that. I have worked with so many first PROs. For example, as a journalist, I worked with somebody like Chris Olakbe, was a brilliant first PRO. I worked with Frank Omba, who is a DIG now, who probably may be retired, depending on how things go, because there's been so much noise about
ranks.
Yeah, all that recently.
Emmanuel
Ojukwu,
yeah,
another fantastic,
brilliant man.
erudite officer.
Doctor now, I think.
Yes. So there are people like that. There are people like that. Wherever you take them to, they will excel. The same way I worked with late Solomon Arasa, was a very brilliant police officer. You can't experience Solomon Arasa and have an impression that police officers do what we think they do in Nigeria.
Or maybe they do what we know they do.
Because he's a very decent police officer. That was why when he was IG, we saw all what happened during his tenure. It was a period that you and I will look back to and say that man should have lasted longer than the time they kept him there. But unfortunately,
life happened.
Yeah.
And Igbetokun, who had to retire, or should I say leave his position, what do you call that situation? I mean, how do you want to describe it? That 100 million crossed into his son's account was true, it was a mistake. I mean, that tells you a lot about how security votes or funds move in Nigeria.
Well, money is something that if you are not careful,
and now you're about to be political about your answer. I can see it on your face.
Money is it could mess you up. That's what money does. All right. Personally, I don't have all the details yet.
Yeah.
Because even when he was removed as an IG, we were not told that he was sacked.
Yeah, he stepped down.
That he resigned for family reasons, personal reasons. Where that could be a cover for so many things, as it usually is. Because even when the fire IG then, Tafa Balogun, was asked to leave, he also resigned and all that. So there are many instances that we've seen IGs leaving. But one thing we must know about Egbetokun is that his tenure was already gone. He was living, surviving on the grace of the president. All right? Because the law also allows for that. So otherwise, he should have retired since last year, I think. You and I are aware that some people have even been protesting that he has overstayed his tenure in office and all that. But the president felt he was doing well and he kept him for longer in line with the new police act. All right. But if today he said he wants to leave, he has gone. So let's welcome the new kid on the block or the new sheriff in town, hoping that he will do far better than all his predecessors are talking about, Tunji Disu, who I also think is a very, very good product of the force. I expect that he will deliver well, but unfortunately, sometimes the office has a way of also changing people. I mean, political offices has a way of also changing people. I hope he won't be changed. He will deliver good to Nigerians, and he will enforce fundamental human rights. Because if he doesn't, we will also come here and still question what he's doing. But from what I know about him so far, he's been a good police officer. All right, both when he was in, he was CP in Rivers, he was CP in FCT, he was also in special fraud unit,
and was an aide to the president as well.
Yes, so I'm expecting that he will deliver well. But like I said earlier on, if he doesn't do well,
we'll be back.
We'll be back to also say,
in Arnold Schwarzenegger's voice. We'll be back. We have to leave it at that today. Thank you so much, Desmond Utomwen. Come close. Tell me I'm close. Oh, no, it's not telling me I'm close.
I was trying to have you very close.
Okay.
Utomwen.
Yeah, Utomwen. Thank you so much for your time. It's good to talk to you. Thank you for sharing your story with us. It's encouraging and it's really enlightening. I'm not too sure a lot of people get to know when the case has lasted this long and how much difference it makes to people who may have such a situation building up. But I'm glad you shared that story with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
And of course, Desmond is a journalist, he's a TV host, he's a filmmaker, and yes, he also has thick skin, as you might have noticed. So that comes under one of the attributes, and he's my friend as well. I'm glad we've had the chance to talk to him on the Volume with FemiDlive. Well, that's the show for today. Let's know what you think. Share your own perspective and examples and realities as you have them, and we'll be glad, to keep it all and keep it going. I'm Femi D. Amale. Thank you for your time.